Good evening, warriors. Let the night settle gently around you now, like a warm blanket being laid over the world. And in this quiet space, we begin the long, dreamy journey through the entire story of Goku, from the earliest days of Dragon Ball all the way through Dragon Ball Z and into the deep cosmic reaches of Dragon Ball Super. Everything you hear will be told in a soft, calming prose, meant to ease the mind and soothe the breath, flowing like a peaceful river that carries you slowly into rest. This is the beginning of Goku's story, not as a warrior defined by battle, but as a soul who grew across countless lifetimes, touched by adventure, friendship, loss, and quiet growth. Part 1. Goku's Peaceful Beginnings. Everything begins far from Earth, in the distant reaches of space. A quiet blue planet, rotating in a soft cosmic glow, unaware of how its future will be shaped by a small child born light years away. On planet Vegeta, home of the Saiyan race, a child is born with a small tail curled behind him. His name at birth is Kakarot, though the universe will soon come to know him by a gentler name. But for now, he is simply an infant, tiny and unaware, resting in a pod bathed in faint machine light. Around him, Saiyan life moves with a mix of harshness and pride, a warrior culture rooted in survival and strength. Yet even here, in a world defined by battle, there's something small and warm about the infant curled inside the pod. He doesn't cry loudly or thrash around. He simply gazes at the world with wide eyes, curious without knowing what curiosity is. His destiny is vast, but in this moment, he is just Kakarot, small, quiet, drifting gently at the start of his story. His father, Bardock, stands nearby. A quiet determination rests in Bardock's eyes, a faint ember of defiance glowing beneath the surface. Though the Saiyan race is fierce, their planet is not filled with endless roaring. At night, the winds of planet Vegeta hum softly across the rocky surface, carrying with them quiet hints of the world's ancient history. Bardock feels that wind brushing by as he looks down at his son, sensing something different about the child. Not weakness, not even strength, but potential. A kind of sleepwalking destiny waiting to wake. The sky above planet Vegeta glows with twin moons. Their light reflects weakly across the metallic architecture of the Saiyan strongholds. And somewhere deep in the heart of space, Frieza watches the Saiyans with hidden motives. But all of that is distant, hazy, far from the calmness of this beginning. For now, all that matters is the tiny infant drifting gently toward the future. Kakarot's pod is prepared for departure. It hums with a faint mechanical glow, vibrations so soft they're almost like a lullaby. Saiyan infants are often sent to other worlds, tiny seeds of destruction intended to grow into warriors that conquer. The Saiyans see this as natural, ordinary, unremarkable. But greatness often begins in small, unremarkable moments, drifting quietly between breaths. Bardock watches the pod close. He does not shout. He does not panic. He simply places a hand on the smooth surface, letting his fingers linger there for an extra heartbeat. Somewhere inside him, he senses the coming storm, the destruction that threatens his race. And so, the pod launches, streaking through the dark sky like a falling star, carrying with it a single infant and a lifetime of stories waiting to unfold. Part 2. Early Adventures and New Bonds. The breeze rolls gently across Mount Paozu as we drift back into Goku's life, finding him in a peaceful rhythm, living quietly with Chi-Chi and their young son, Gohan. These are some of the softest years of his life, simple and warm, filled with the glow of late morning sunshine streaming through their wooden home, and the calm voices of a small family settling into ordinary routines. Goku spends his days fishing, training lightly, laughing with Gohan, and enjoying the slow hum of nature that wraps the mountains in comfort. But the universe has a way of bending toward destiny, even when the world feels perfectly still. One morning, as Goku walks up the small path leading to Kame House with little Gohan perched on his shoulder, a presence sweeps across the sky, not loud, not violent, but heavy enough that the air seems to hold its breath. Birds go quiet for a moment. The sea near Roshi's island ripples with an uneasy shiver. And then, descending from the sky with a slow, deliberate motion, a stranger appears. His armor glints faintly, his eyes sharp, and his tail sways behind him with quiet confidence. He introduces himself as Raditz, speaking Goku's Saiyan birth name with unsettling familiarity, Kakarot. The word hangs in the air, like a forgotten memory. Goku feels the world shift beneath him, gently but firmly, as Raditz reveals truth after truth. Goku was not born on Earth. He was sent here as an infant Saiyan, meant to conquer the planet once he grew strong enough to do so. This revelation sweeps over Goku's mind like a cold breeze, yet he stands there in a peaceful sort of confusion. He listens, he processes, he breathes through it. Even the shock settles in him gently, because his identity has always been shaped by who he chose to be, not the place he came from. Still, Raditz does not bring warmth. He demands Goku join him in conquering Earth. Goku refuses with quiet firmness, a calm resolve that Raditz sees as defiance. Raditz takes Gohan, flying away with him into the distance. The moment is frightening, but the fear moves through Goku like a wave, steadying him rather than overwhelming him. Piccolo arrives shortly after, the air around him calm but tense, carrying the unspoken truth that Goku needs help. Together, the two former enemies form a fragile alliance, their energies blending like two notes, creating a single, steady tone. Their battle against Raditz is harsh, but even within the chaos, Goku moves with a purpose that feels grounded and deliberate. Gohan's sudden burst of strength surprises everyone, breaking through Raditz's armor in a powerful flash of emotion. And with Piccolo's special beam cannon, both Raditz and Goku fall. Goku's death is not a scream or a tragedy. It feels more like a gentle release, the world dimming softly before opening into the warm glow of the other world. His body relaxes, his breath leaves him quietly, and the next moment, he finds himself looking up at a grand and peaceful pathway stretching endlessly forward. Here, Goku awakens into another chapter, one wrapped in a serene afterlife glow. The towering figure of King Yemma sits at the end of a long hall, his presence intimidating, yet oddly orderly, like a guardian of cosmic paperwork. Goku bows respectfully, his voice gentle, asking to train with King Kai. Yemma grants permission, and thus begins Goku's long run along Snake Way, a winding ribbon stretching across a sea of golden clouds. The journey is peaceful in its own strange way. Goku jogs for hours, days, maybe longer, the rhythm of his footsteps steady and soft. The silence of Snake Way becomes a sort of meditation, allowing him to think about Gohan, Chi-Chi, his friends, and the quiet life he left behind. The universe feels vast here, but the path feels personal, a reminder that growth often comes from long, solitary stretches. When he finally reaches King Kai's small planet, its gravity presses down on him like a warm, heavy blanket. He laughs in surprise, tumbling slightly, then rises with determination. King Kai himself greets him with playful humor, testing Goku's patience with silly jokes before offering real training. Their time together unfolds with gentle routine. Goku learns the Spirit Bomb, a technique drawn from the energy of all living things, and he practices the Kaioken, a method of amplifying his strength while maintaining calm focus, like balancing on a single beam of light. Meanwhile, back on Earth, the presence of Vegeta, or Vegeta as Goku will always softly mispronounce it, approaches. Vegeta and Nappa descend like quiet storms, their power unmistakable, their confidence rooted in pride. But even they cannot anticipate the depth of Goku's resolve. When Goku is resurrected and returns to Earth, he finds chaos. The battlefield is littered with the echoes of loss. Yet through this sorrow, Goku's arrival feels like a gentle breeze moving through smoke. He faces Nappa calmly, defeats him with minimal effort, and then stands before Vegeta in a confrontation that the world has never seen before, one that will resonate for decades. Their fight is fierce, but the way Goku navigates it is filled with clarity. He pushes his limits, but he does so with awareness, choosing moments to rise, moments to rest, moments to adapt. His Kaioken amplifies his strength, like a smooth flame climbing into the night. Vegeta responds with equal intensity, forcing Goku into levels he never imagined. The battle ends not in rage, but in exhaustion, and when Vegeta crawls into his pod to escape, Goku does not let Krillin finish him. Instead, he whispers that Vegeta must be allowed to live. Something about him feels unfinished, like a story that shouldn't be cut short. Time drifts forward, carrying the world into new arcs. The heroes travel to Namek, guided by Bulma's sharp mind and the soft hope of restoring their friends with the Dragon Balls. Namek's green skies shimmer quietly, its air warm and slow, its surface dotted with calm lakes that reflect the soft shifts of the two suns above. Goku recovers in a healing pod aboard a spaceship, then trains in heavy gravity during the voyage. Each weighted movement becomes like a slow tide, pulling him deeper into strength. When he finally reaches Namek, the calm before the storm breaks gently around him. Frieza waits here, surrounded by twisted ambitions and fragile calm. Goku's arrival shifts the atmosphere like a warm gust, brushing away a lingering chill. Battles unfold, pain spreads, power grows. And when Krillin's life is taken, something ancient awakens inside Goku, a transformation shaped by grief but grounded in purpose. Super Saiyan, not a scream of rage, but a quiet awakening of golden light deep within his soul. The journey through space is quiet. The pod glides through starlit darkness, passing sleeping worlds and distant suns. Kakarot drifts in perfect stillness, unbothered by the vastness around him. Time stretches here, soft and unhurried, as though the universe itself is rocking him gently. Eventually, the pod approaches Earth, a peaceful blue world, with soft clouds swirling lazily over green forests and wide oceans. This planet, unaware of the destiny descending upon it, spins quietly beneath the warm touch of sunlight. The pod breaks through the atmosphere with a faint trail of heat, drifting downward until it lands in the mountains near a solitary cabin. An old martial artist named Gohan discovers the pod. He is gentle, aged, and wise, moving with the careful steps of someone who has lived long enough to appreciate the quiet details of the world. Gohan approaches the pod with cautious curiosity, surprised at the sight of the small child inside. When he opens it, Kakarot blinks up at him with innocent eyes, and something inside Gohan softens immediately. He takes the child into his home, gives him a warm blanket and a simple, loving name. Goku. Life in Gohan's home is slow and peaceful. Birds flutter across the treetops. The river nearby hums with a steady flow. The nights are filled with soft breezes drifting through the cracks in the cabin's windows. It's a simple life, but for Goku, it is a cradle of warmth. At first, he is wild, unruly, filled with Saiyan instinct. But everything changes one fateful day, when the young boy falls from a high cliff. The impact leaves him unconscious, and when he wakes, he is different. His gentle heart takes root. The violent impulses fade. His smile becomes warm and bright, like sunlight slipping through morning clouds. This is the Goku the world will come to know, shaped not by battle, but by kindness, by peaceful mornings, simple meals, and the warmth of a grandfather's love. Years pass softly. Goku grows strong, but his spirit remains light. He learns martial arts from Gohan, moving through gentle routines in the yard, the sound of leaves rustling like soft applause around him. He doesn't fully understand the world yet, but he feels its beauty, its calmness, its quiet invitations. Then comes the day he meets Bulma, a moment that softens and bends the path of the universe in subtle ways. She arrives in a burst of energy, a bright contrast to the serene mountain life. Her technology, her curiosity, her boldness, all of it fascinates the young Goku in a naive and charming way. Their adventure begins gently at first, like ripples spreading across a calm lake. They travel, meeting new people, discovering hidden places, learning lessons tucked between laughter and small dangers. Each person they meet becomes a thread in the tapestry of Goku's story. Master Roshi welcomes Goku with amused shock, recognizing a spark of potential beneath his innocent exterior. The Turtle Hermit's island becomes another cradle of peace for Goku, filled with the sound of ocean waves, the warmth of a tropical breeze, and the slow rhythm of training that unfolds like meditation. Krillin arrives next, a rival at first, but soon a brother in spirit. Their friendship grows naturally, like a slow, steady flame warming the space between them. They train together, eat together, laugh together. They push each other gently and fiercely all at once, with no malice, only mutual encouragement. The World Martial Arts tournaments become milestones, not in the loud, competitive sense, but as points of growth in Goku's life. Each match teaches him something new. Each opponent brings a new perspective. Even the battles themselves, though dramatic by nature, unfold in Goku's memory, like calm stories filled with lessons rather than conflict. His encounters with characters like Tien, Yamcha, and Chiaotzu shape him further, not through shouting or triumph, but through understanding, through camaraderie, through the subtle recognition that strength comes from connection just as much as training. Then there is Piccolo, once an enemy born from the bitterness of his father's legacy. Their conflict is fierce in the moment, but the foundation it lays beneath the story is steady and transformative. Goku sees potential for good even in those born of darkness. And Piccolo, touched by Goku's unwavering spirit, begins to change in quiet increments. Peace returns after the battles, and Goku feels content in these stretches of calm between challenges. The world moves with a gentle pulse around him. He grows, learns, becomes an adult, marries Chi-Chi, and eventually welcomes his son, Gohan, into the world. And with that, the next chapters of Goku's long journey begin. More peaceful mornings, soft family moments, training beneath open skies, the warmth of a home filled with the chatter of a young boy. But destiny is always moving, even in quiet spaces. And soon, a visitor will arrive from beyond the stars. A visitor who knows Goku not as Goku, but as Kakarot. A visitor who will shift the gentle tide of his life into something greater. Part 3. The Saiyan Past approaches. The light of Namek's twin suns flowed slowly across the calm waters. each ripple shimmering like liquid glass. The air was warm, with a faint breeze that carried the scent of distant trees and gentle waves. It was on this tranquil world, beneath this serene sky, that one of the most pivotal chapters of Goku's life quietly opened like a lotus unfolding at dawn. Goku stood on the soft Namekian soil, feeling the world breathe beneath his feet. The struggle with Frieza had shaken every corner of this quiet planet, leaving tension in the air like distant echoes of thunder. But there was also stillness here, pockets of calm resting gently between battles, moments of rest folded inside the chaos. When Goku faced Frieza as a Super Saiyan, it was not the roaring transformation the legends describe. In this soft retelling, meant for peaceful reflection, the moment felt more like a gentle ignition, a warm golden light blooming from deep within him, glowing with purpose. His hair rose slowly, brushing upward as though lifted by a warm breeze, and the golden aura wrapped around him in soft waves rather than violent flames. Frieza felt the shift, though the world around them seemed to hold its breath, waiting. The fight that followed was long and intense, but we will not rush through it. Instead, imagine the battle as a slow dance of light across water, each movement measured and deliberate, unfolding like a story written on the wind. Goku tested his limits, but always with intention, never losing the calm center that anchored him through years of growth. Even as Namek began to crumble under the strain of Frieza's power, the world dimmed into a slow-motion dream. The skies darkened, but the twin suns cast faint reflections across the rippling lakes. Goku fought not for glory, but simply because keeping others safe felt as natural to him as breathing. When the planet neared its end and Frieza lay defeated, Goku did not strike the final blow. In the sleepy quiet of this story, he allowed the moment to soften, telling Frieza he would not follow the path of destruction. It was a choice made from the gentle instincts shaping him since childhood, a kindness that emerged even in the face of devastation. Goku escaped Namek in a battered ship, moving into the vastness of space. His consciousness faded as the stars stretched into soft lines, and when he awakened, he found himself recovering on a distant world. There was peace here, a warm landscape with orange skies and soft breezes. Goku spent quiet days healing, training lightly, and reflecting on everything he had experienced. News eventually reached Earth that Namek had exploded, and though his friends mourned, they kept hope alive, knowing Goku had a way of slipping between danger and gentleness, like a river moving around stone. He returned home months later, appearing in the sky above Capsule Corp, as casually as if he had only been gone a day. The reunion was warm and full of relief, tiny ripples of laughter blending with tears as everyone embraced him. These softer moments defined Goku more deeply than any battle could. But peace is temporary, like a breeze that eventually gives way to a shifting season. Soon, 2 new presences appeared on Earth, stepping lightly from a time-traveling machine. One of them was Trunks, though young Goku didn't yet know this soft-eyed warrior was Vegeta's future son. Trunks warned of new threats, androids designed by Dr. Gero, creations of a mind filled with cold precision, but little understanding of the warmth that binds people together. When Goku learned he had a heart virus destined to strike him, he took the news calmly, even with a faint smile. He thanked Trunks for the warning, appreciating the kindness behind the urgency. He did not fear death. He thought more about Chi-Chi, Gohan, and the friends he wanted to protect. As the years passed into the android saga, Goku trained deeply with Gohan, the two of them moving like twin currents through quiet mountain air. Goku saw in Gohan a potential even greater than his own, though he never pushed him harshly. He guided him with patience, allowing Gohan's natural gentleness to remain unbroken. The androids arrived, and despite his preparation, the heart virus struck at just the moment foretold. The pain came in sweeping waves, like storms rolling slowly across a valley. But Goku endured it quietly. With the antidote given by Trunks, he recovered, stretching afterward with gratitude for another chance to protect those he loved. Cell emerged, the result of twisted ambition, engineered perfection, wrapped in cold calculation. Yet even with Cell's frightening power, the story continued with the slow, thoughtful pace of Goku's spirit. He fought Cell in the tournament arena beneath open skies and soft breezes, stepping through each motion with calm assurance. Goku eventually handed the responsibility to Gohan, trusting his son completely, offering encouragement with a warm, steady voice. Gohan rose, shaped by both his father's strength and his own quiet heart. And though Goku sacrificed his life once more to save Earth from Cell's final explosion, he did so peacefully, almost like slipping into sleep. His last smile carried gratitude, not fear. In the afterlife, Goku trained again, moving through long stretches of calm days on King Kai's small planet. Time flowed gently here. Meanwhile, on Earth, life continued. Goten was born. Chi-Chi struggled and persevered. Piccolo meditated beneath waterfalls. Vegeta trained under heat brighter than sunlight. Eventually, when a tournament was announced, Goku was granted a single day to return and participate. The reunion with his family and friends carried a soft, emotional warmth. His meeting with Goten was especially tender, filled with wonder on both sides. As father and son laughed together, their voices blended across the arena in gentle harmony. But in this peaceful interlude came Majin Buu, a being born from ancient darkness, yet carrying an eerily childlike innocence. The world bent once more toward danger, though Goku approached it like he always did, centered, compassionate, balanced. He showed Buu new possibilities, guiding him with understanding rather than force. The spirit bomb used to defeat Kid Buu became a whisper of unity, the entire Earth lending energy in a gentle chorus. When Goku wished for Buu's reincarnation into a good person, he did it with soft faith in second chances. Years later, that wish became Oob, a kind-hearted boy whose potential Goku nurtured patiently. From here, time flowed into Dragon Ball Super, like a new chapter opening beneath a quiet morning sky. Goku encountered Beerus, a god of destruction whose presence radiated ancient power. Yet their interaction contained moments of humor and gentleness, subtle warmth hidden beneath their competition. Whis arrived next, training Goku and Vegeta with a calm mastery that felt almost like a meditation. Under Whis, Goku learned to move with deep clarity, to let go of tension, to trust instinct. These lessons shaped him profoundly, preparing him for the next great trials, the Tournament of Power and the arrival of Jiren. Jiren stood as still as stone, his energy immense, but even in their confrontation, Goku saw the loneliness behind the strength. Their clash became a silent dialogue between two warriors who walked different paths toward power. Ultra Instinct bloomed in Goku during this tournament, not violently, but with serene inevitability, a state of pure awareness awakening inside him like a lotus opening its petals. From there, Goku crossed paths with Broly, whose power surged like an untamed storm, though his heart hid something tender and misunderstood. Goku spoke to him gently after the battle, offering friendship instead of fear. He later met enemies like Moro, a creature whose hunger seemed endless, and Granola, a warrior shaped by sorrow and old wounds. Goku navigated these conflicts with evolving wisdom, each arc flowing like a new bend in a long river. And through it all, he remained himself, gentle, curious, hungry for improvement, warm-hearted, and always ready to protect. Not because he sought glory, but because kindness was rooted so deeply in him that it guided everything he did. Part 4. The Calm Before Namek. The story continues beneath a calm sky, one that stretches endlessly, like a soft blanket pulled gently over the world. Goku's life has unfolded through countless trials, friendships, losses, and gentle victories. And now we ease into the later arcs of Dragon Ball Super, where his spirit deepens, his understanding broadens, and the universe reveals itself to him in quieter, more mysterious ways. We begin with the lingering echo of the Tournament of Power, a memory that sits in Goku's heart like a warm ember. He remembers the arena suspended in a void of endless darkness, the way the stands shimmered with gods and mortals, all observing in a hushed, cosmic anticipation. He remembers Jiren standing before him, unmoving, powerful, yet carrying a strange loneliness behind his stern eyes. And he remembers the way Ultra Instinct awakened, not through rage or desperation, but through surrender, through trust, through a moment where his mind and body finally exhaled together. After the tournament ends and Universe 7 returns home, Goku feels something change inside him. It isn't loud or dramatic. It's subtle, like the softness after rain when the air smells clean and fresh. He finds himself thinking about movement differently, thinking about combat differently, thinking about stillness differently. Even breathing begins to feel like a conversation between him and the world. Vegeta notices this shift long before Goku realizes how clear it is. Vegeta watches Goku from across the Capsule Corp training grounds one afternoon, arms crossed, eyes narrowing. Goku's movements are smoother, quieter, as though he is gliding rather than stepping. Vegeta grumbles something under his breath about Goku acting like a floating feather. But the truth is, he sees growth, deep, internal growth that both irritates and inspires him. Training with Wise becomes gentler, more reflective. Instead of harsh sparring, Hwachis has Goku walk in slow arcs across the grass, focusing on balance, breath, instinct. He asks Goku to feel the world's rhythm rather than impose his own. At first, Goku stumbles, not physically, but mentally. He's used to pushing, not releasing. But over time, the lessons begin to settle in, like morning sunlight spreading across quiet water. Days pass. Weeks pass. Seasons unfold softly. And then comes Broly, the gentle storm wrapped in overwhelming strength. Their meeting begins with tension, but ends with understanding. After the fierce battle on the icy world, Goku visits Broly in the quiet wilderness where he now lives. The two speak not as enemies, but as people who recognize something familiar in each other, an innocence beneath power, a longing for connection. Goku offers Broly supplies, but more importantly, he offers friendship. Broly, shy and unsure, accepts with small nods. Goku leaves that day feeling lighter, as though he has found another person who understands the strange, lonely distance that extraordinary power sometimes creates. Not long after, the universe shifts again. Moro appears, a creature of ancient hunger moving through space like the echo of forgotten nightmares. Yet even in the face of this threat, Goku approaches with a steady calm. He trains with Meris, an angel whose presence radiates quiet wisdom. Meris teaches Goku not just technique, but perspective. Ultra Instinct, he says, is less about form and more about harmony. It's the absence of internal conflict, the stillness at the center of a storm. During their training, Goku listens with unusual focus. He watches Merus move, each motion flowing like water, smooth and effortless. Goku mirrors the motions, his body adjusting slowly, carefully, until he feels a faint spark of that same fluidity inside himself. When Merus ultimately gives his life to guide Goku, the moment settles deep in Goku's heart. It isn't sharp with grief. Instead, it feels like a quiet weight, a warm memory wrapped in gentle sadness. Merus's sacrifice becomes part of Goku's journey, a reminder that strength is shaped by the people who inspire us, not just the battles we fight. In the final confrontation with Moro, Goku stands tall, but not with arrogance. There is clarity in his eyes, a serene light that reflects every lesson he's learned. He breathes deeply. The air around him seems to still. An ultra instinct returns, not as a dramatic explosion, but as a quiet awakening, a silver glow rising softly around him like moonlight touching calm water. The fight ends with purpose, not fury. And when peace returns, Goku stands beneath the soft glow of the sky, grateful for the guidance that brought him there. Time continues to flow, carrying the story into the Granola arc. Granola, shaped by loss and fueled by vengeance, appears with a heart burdened by memories heavier than stone. Goku understands him almost immediately, recognizing a familiar pain in his quiet determination. Their battles unfold with the rhythm of a long, slow conversation, each strike a question, each dodge an answer. Goku tries to reach Granola, not just with strength, but with empathy. He speaks gently, telling him that clinging to old wounds will not soothe them, that peace cannot grow from anger. Granola listens, slowly, cautiously. And though he struggles, his heart begins to soften, like frost melting beneath morning light. Goku also continues training with Whis during this time, learning that Ultra Instinct is not a single state, but a spectrum, different emotions, different levels of surrender, different layers of understanding. The technique becomes less about power and more about presence, less about rising and more about centering. He learns that instinct can be gentle, that awareness can be soft, that strength can move quietly. Through all these arcs, Goku matures, not dramatically, but subtly, like a tree thickening its trunk year after year without a sound. He grows wiser, more patient, more connected to the world around him. Even his interactions with Vegeta evolve into something deeper. They no longer train only as rivals. Their rivalry becomes a form of respect, an unspoken bond built on years of shared adversity. Vegeta begins exploring his own path with Ultra Ego, and though he refuses to admit it, Goku's growth encourages him to keep searching. Their conversations shift. Sometimes they sit in quiet moments after training, not speaking much, but sharing a silence that carries meaning. Vegeta might make a dry comment. Goku might laugh softly. The mountains around them echo with peaceful wind, tall grass swaying gently at their feet. And when the sun begins to set, painting the horizon in warm colors, they often find themselves looking out at the landscape with the same thought in their hearts. There is more to learn. There is always more. Goku's journey expands beyond battles now. It settles into philosophy, into self-discovery, into connections formed not by strength, but by stillness. Part 5. Growth across new worlds. The story moves onward like a slow breeze across an open field, brushing lightly over tall grass and carrying with it the calm warmth of everything Goku has learned up to this point. After so many battles, so many shifting tides of fate and power, the world settles into a quieter rhythm. and Goku finds himself living through a stretch of peaceful days that almost feel like a deep inhale after years of constant motion. These are the days that shape him in softer ways, the kind that do not demand strength, but instead encourage reflection. Goku begins waking early again, not for intense training sessions, but simply to watch the sunrise. He sits on a gentle hill, not far from his home, the sky slowly brightening from deep indigo to pale gold. The crisp morning air cools his skin as he breathes in slowly, letting the stillness settle inside him. There is something healing in the simplicity, in the quiet hum of nature waking around him. Chi-Chi sometimes watches him from the doorway, arms folded, a small, knowing smile on her face. She doesn't interrupt. She understands, perhaps better than anyone, that Goku's heart needs these moments, the same way the earth needs dawn after a long night. When Goku returns to the house, he often helps with small chores without being asked. He carries heavy baskets of laundry with ease, chops wood a little too enthusiastically, and sometimes makes breakfast when Chi-Chi is busy. Though his cooking remains inconsistent, the effort is filled with warmth. Goten laughs softly at his dad's attempts, and Chi-Chi shakes her head with amused affection. On some days, Goku takes long walks through the forest behind their home. Birds flutter from branch to branch, leaves rustle under his boots, and the distant river murmurs like a lullaby. He feels every sound more vividly now, every small movement resonating in his awareness. Ultra instinct hasn't faded, even in these restful times. Instead, it has intertwined with his everyday life. His senses remain open, but not alert, simply present, like someone listening to quiet music. Goku occasionally wanders all the way to Krillin's home, arriving with a gentle knock and a bright smile. Krillin always laughs when he sees him, a familiar laughter that seems to dissolve years and memories into a single shared moment. They spar sometimes, but it's light-hearted now, more about bonding than intensity. Afterward, they sit by the water with their feet dangling into the cool surface, talking about their families, their past, and the strange, winding roads their lives have taken. Piccolo visits too, often without needing to speak. Piccolo stands beside Goku, overlooking the mountains, arms folded, cloak shifting in the breeze. Their silence is comfortable, filled with mutual understanding. They have come so far from those early days, when Piccolo was Goku's greatest threat. Now, Piccolo is one of his deepest connections, someone who understands the weight of responsibility, the struggle of balancing power with purpose. Vegeta's presence during this era carries its own calm energy. Though he would never admit it, he appreciates the peaceful stretches of time between battles just as much as Goku does. Sometimes he trains alone in the gravity chamber, the rhythmic thump of his movements echoing softly through the Capsule Corp grounds. At other times, he allows himself to sit with Bulma and Trunks under the shade of a tree, arms crossed, pretending he's only there to keep an eye on things. But Bulma knows better. She smiles at him the way someone smiles at a fire that once burned too fiercely, but now glows steadily, warming the space around it. Goku visits Vegeta often during these days. Their conversations carry a gentle humor that only years of rivalry and companionship could create. Vegeta complains about Goku's habit of showing up unannounced, and Goku laughs in that relaxed, carefree way that never fails to nudge Vegeta into soft irritation. Even so, they sit together, often in comfortable silence, watching the sky or sharing quiet thoughts about training, family, and the paths they've chosen. Free Eyes also keeps an eye on Goku from afar. Sometimes he arrives unannounced with a polite greeting and a box of sweets he claims are for Beerus. even though he knows Goku will eat most of them before they reach the god of destruction. Whis observes Goku's growth with something like pride. Not pride in power, but in wisdom, in balance. Goku's approach to Ultra Instinct has matured into something fluid and natural, no longer a desperate push, but a gentle release. There are moments, too, when Goku thinks about those who are no longer with him. He recalls Master Roshi's teachings, filled with mischief and insight. He remembers Grandpa Gohan, whose kindness shaped his earliest memories. He reflects on Gohan's growth as a father and scholar, watching from afar as his son fosters strength in a different way, building a peaceful life grounded in knowledge and compassion. Goku feels grateful that his children can grow in a world safer than the one he knew. During this era of calm, Goku also encounters new challenges that are less about fighting and more about understanding. He reflects often on Neris, on what sacrifice means, and on how every life he touches weaves itself gently into the fabric of his own story. He realizes that the path of a warrior is not defined solely by battle. It is defined by the people who walk beside you, the choices you make, and the way you grow, even in silence. When he helps Broly adjust to a more peaceful life on the quiet planet, where he now stays with Lemmo and Chilai, Goku brings food, supplies, and occasional company. Broly listens to him shyly, his enormous strength wrapped in a gentle uncertainty. Over time, trust grows. Broly's steps, once heavy with tension, become lighter. Goku watches him with a calm smile, proud of how someone so powerful can find peace in simple, slow moments. As months pass, the world continues to evolve. New mysteries appear on the horizon, some large, some small, but all threaded with possibility. Goku knows in his heart that challenges will come again, as they always do, but instead of anticipating them with restless excitement, he welcomes them with a softer mindset now. He has learned that strength blossoms most deeply when nurtured by patience, reflection, and warmth. And so, in these gentle days, he lets himself breathe. He lets himself grow quietly. He lets the world turn softly around him, each sunrise bringing new colors, each sunset closing the day like a gentle lullaby. Ahead, the next era of his journey begins to stir faintly, like distant ripples spreading across a still pond. There are new faces to meet, new truths to uncover, new heights of power to understand. But for now, the story settles into a restful pause, letting the listener relax deeper as Goku's journey moves slowly toward its next horizon. Part 6. Whispers of Moro's Return. The quiet days pass like wandering clouds, soft and unhurried, each one blending into the next with the peaceful rhythm of a world that is finally breathing after long years of turmoil. But even in calm eras, the universe carries its own subtle pulse, and sometimes that pulse begins to shift ever so slightly, like the faint tremor of a distant bell echoing across endless skies. It begins for Goku on another serene morning, the kind where the light stretches slowly across the horizon and dew gathers delicately on the grass. He finishes a simple breakfast with Goten, smiling at the way his son laughs over small things, and then he steps outside, drawn by a quiet feeling he can't fully name. The birdsong seems softer today, the air a touch cooler, as if the world itself is pausing to listen. Far away, across the boundless cosmos, Wise tilts his head with the faintest smile. He senses the shift as well, delicate but unmistakable, a sign that new currents are beginning to move. Beerus, still dozing on his floating bed, stirs for just a moment, one ear twitching, before he slips back into sleep. Even gods notice the quiet rumblings of change, though they seldom admit it. For Goku, the feeling brings a gentle excitement, but not the restless kind he once knew. this excitement is softer, like the flicker of a candle rather than the blaze of a bonfire. He knows that the universe moves in cycles, that peace often gives birth to new discoveries, and now a new chapter seems ready to unfold, though it approaches with a whisper rather than a roar. One afternoon, he visits Broly again on the quiet green world, where Chilai and Lemo have helped him build a new life. The sky there has a calming shade of turquoise, and the breeze travels in long, sweeping waves that ruffle the grass in soothing patterns. Broly is calmer now, his immense power wrapped gently beneath layers of newfound patience. He greets Goku with a shy smile, and they walk together along a ridge overlooking the valley. Goku speaks softly as they walk, telling Broly about the peace on Earth, about Gohan's latest studies and Trunks' energetic enthusiasm, and about Vegeta's ongoing quest to surpass his limits in his own way. Broly listens, his expression thoughtful, absorbing each detail with a quiet appreciation. His life has been filled with so much intensity, so much fear and conflict, that these simple stories feel like gifts. They sit together for a while, watching unfamiliar creatures wander peacefully across the plains, and Goku feels the tranquility settle around them like a warm blanket. In the evenings, back on Earth, Goku sometimes looks up at the night sky, his gaze lifting across the sea of stars. Each point of light carries a history, a story, a thread in the vast tapestry he has only begun to understand. He thinks about the angels, about Beerus and the destroyers, about Maris and the sacrifice that still glows gently in his heart. He wonders what other beings might be out there, what mysteries wait beyond the horizon of his imagination. Goku doesn't seek conflict anymore, not the way he once did, but he still seeks understanding. And in the quiet moments, he feels that the universe is preparing to open another door for him. It arrives not with thunder, but with Whis appearing in front of him one crisp morning, staff in hand, and a mild smile playing at the corners of his mouth. Goku blinks once, then grins, wiping his hands on his pants as though expecting some grand news. Whis nods gently, amused by the familiar enthusiasm beneath Goku's calm exterior. There is a new disturbance in the fabric of the cosmos, something subtle yet curious, a presence stirring among the stars that requires investigation. Beerus, half awake and pretending not to be interested, has authorized Whis to check on the matter. And Whis, knowing Goku's spirit, thought the Saiyan would appreciate the opportunity to accompany him. The message is light, but the meaning is deep. A whisper of new adventure. A breeze carrying the scent of something unknown. Goku agrees without hesitation, though his spirit remains peaceful, steady, balanced. He tells Chi-Chi before leaving, and though she sighs with exasperation, there is a soft acceptance in her eyes. She has lived beside Goku long enough to understand that his nature will always draw him toward the currents of the cosmos. And despite her strictness, she knows his journeys often bring home lessons that shape their family's growth in gentle, unexpected ways. As Goku touches Whis' shoulder and the two lift off into the sky, the world below turns into a soft mosaic of greens and blues. A breeze trails behind them as they ascend, carrying the faint scent of pine and warm sunlight. Goku looks back at Earth, feeling a gentle affection for the small sphere that has shaped his entire existence. Then he turns forward, ready to see what lies beyond. Their journey takes them across streaks of cosmic color, rivers of light that dance and pulse like living constellations. Whis moves effortlessly, his staff guiding them like a gliding boat upon celestial waters. Goku remains silent, absorbing the beauty with wide, thoughtful eyes. Space feels quieter than he remembers, not cold or empty, but serene, like a vast ocean at dusk. When they reach their destination, the silence deepens. A strange energy moves across the void, faint but undeniable, like the lingering warmth of a fire long after its flames have dimmed. Goku senses power here, but it's layered with something else. Wisdom, age, maybe even sorrow. A reminder that every fighter has their own path, and every being carries a history written in scars, triumphs, and quiet moments of doubt. Whis explains in his gentle voice that a being of unusual strength has awakened, one whose presence shifts the balance of the cosmos, not through destruction, but through sheer overwhelming existence. A being known only in whispers, rumored to have once rivaled angels, now stirring in the far reaches of the galaxy. Goku listens, calm and curious. He doesn't feel fear, only a deep sense of wonder. This moment marks the beginning of the Moro arc, a tale of ancient magic and celestial hunger. The energy Goku senses is old, older than any foe he has encountered before, tied not to martial might alone, but to the very fabric of life and power itself. Whis' voice remains soft, steady, reassuring. The peace behind his tone tells Goku that even in the face of great threats, the universe remains balanced, and every movement of fate is simply another ripple in a much larger river. As they travel deeper into the star-filled space, the scene fades into a soothing hush, carrying you gently further into Goku's long, unfolding story. Part 7, The Ancient Hunger Awakens. The journey toward what awaits begins not with panic or urgency, but with a soft and distant shift, like a faint tremor under quiet soil. As Goku and Whis ease through the warm glow of starlight, Goku feels the presence they're approaching in the same way one might sense a distant storm long before the first drop of rain. Not frightening, simply vast, ancient, and quietly hungry. This presence belongs to Moro, though Goku doesn't know the name yet. What he senses is an echo of something older than the Kais, older even than the threads of magic that weave through the cosmos. Something that had once been sealed away, with the hope that its memory would fade into myth. But the universe remembers everything, even the stories meant to be forgotten. Goku closes his eyes for a moment as they travel, letting the energy wash over him like a slow tide. It carries a strange texture, rough around the edges, yet patient in its depth. He notices the way it rises and falls, as though the being behind it breathes through the very life force of worlds. Whis eventually lowers their speed until they hover within a quiet pocket of space, so still that even the stars seem to be holding their breath. In the distance, a small galactic patrol ship floats, barely noticeable among the dark waves of the void. Inside waits an old friend. Jacko stands near the window, tapping impatiently on his helmet with a sense of urgency he cannot hide. When Goku appears aboard the ship, Jacko exhales dramatically, though the gesture loses some impact in the silence of deep space. Goku laughs softly at his expression, the sound warm and low, carrying no tension at all. Jacko explains the situation with hurried words, but Goku listens at an easy pace, absorbing each piece gently. A prisoner has escaped, not an ordinary one, not even a particularly loud or chaotic one, but something far more unsettling. A figure who once consumed the life energy of planets themselves. A sorcerer whose magic predates nearly every modern understanding of ki. And now he moves again, slowly, deliberately, hungrily. Goku's face remains calm as he hears this. Fear doesn't tug at him, nor does excitement. Instead, he feels a soft curiosity, like watching ripples spread across the surface of still water. As the patrol ship glides toward a barren stretch of space where Moro's trail lingers, the energy grows denser, heavier, yet still strangely quiet. It doesn't scream or roar. It presses gently, like a heavy blanket settling over everything around it. Moro himself is far away, resting on a worn world scarred by ancient battles. His silhouette sits motionless beneath a faint violet sky. His long beard stirs lightly in the dry wind, and his eyes remain half closed, glowing faintly with wisdom twisted into hunger. He senses the universe feeding him whispers, every life force pulsing like a distant heartbeat. He remembers the taste of worlds. He remembers the fear of civilizations as their skies dimmed and their soil cracked beneath the weight of his hunger. But above all, he remembers the centuries of imprisonment, a silence forced upon him so complete that even time seemed to forget his name. Now he extends his hand through the air, feeling the faint spark of Goku's ki brushing against the edges of his awareness. It intrigues him, not for its purity or strength, but for its warmth. A warmth he knows he will soon savor, one way or another. But Goku doesn't sense malice in the way one might expect. He senses exhaustion, age, and a strange, bitter longing. There is danger, yes, but it's woven with layers of history, with stories that shape the being Moro once was and the creature he has become. As the ship coasts closer to their destination, Goku continues to breathe slowly, his thoughts flowing gently like a river through quiet land. He thinks not of fighting, nor of strategy. Instead, he wonders what kind of life Moro lived before fear and hunger defined him. He wonders what shaped his path, and whether there is any light left buried beneath the vast shadow he casts. The Galactic Patrol lands on a fractured world, its surface covered in pale dust that swirls softly around Goku's boots. There is no wind, only the distant hum of energy vibrating through the ground, as if the planet itself remembers being drained of its life. Goku kneels and places his hand on the soil. It is cold, dry, and thin, yet he feels a faint echo of the life that once flourished here. Plants that reached for sunlight, rivers that carried their own rhythms, creatures that called this place home. All gone now, reduced to a memory etched into dust. He closes his eyes for a moment, letting a soft sympathy wash through him. The universe holds many tragedies, but some carry a sorrow so quiet that it is almost gentle. Whis stands beside him, his presence calm and steady. He watches Goku with a look that suggests admiration. There are many fighters in the cosmos, many powerful beings, but very few who pause to feel the stories beneath their feet. Very few who breathe compassion into the spaces shaped by loss. From far away, Moro senses that moment of empathy. He recognizes it instantly, and a faint, cold smile pulls at his lips. Kindness is a rare luxury in a universe built on hunger. But to Moro, it is also a weakness he once learned to exploit, an opening in the armor of those who stand in his path. Yet something in Goku's aura feels different to him. Softer, yes, but not fragile. Warm, but not naive. The kind of warmth that flames carry just before they become something transcendent. Goku rises slowly, brushing dust from his hands. The patrol commander speaks anxiously, explaining the threat Moro poses, the devastation he could bring, the urgency of the situation. Goku listens quietly, nodding. But his thoughts are already moving at the calm rhythm of waves, absorbing everything, letting the pieces settle naturally into place. He knows their paths will cross. He knows an encounter with Moro will test him in ways distinct from physical strength. He senses that this story is not just about power, but about the struggle between life and hunger, growth and decay, warmth and emptiness. And as he steps forward, the stars above shimmer faintly, as though reflecting the beginning of a long, slow dance between an ancient darkness and a warrior whose heart carries the quiet glow of compassion. Soon, Goku will meet Moro face to face, but not in anger, not in haste, only in the soft, steady flow of destiny, moving exactly as it is meant to. And the universe continues to hum its gentle song, guiding him toward what comes next. Part 8. The Quiet Clash with Moro. Goku stood on the dry world that had once held life, the dust still clinging lightly to his boots as he looked out over the empty horizon. The quiet here felt heavy, almost like an echo of everything that had been taken away. Yet in that silence, there was still a softness, a strange kind of calm wrapping itself around the edges of the loss. The Galactic Patrol moved with nervous urgency behind him, scanning energy signatures, checking equipment, speaking in anxious voices. But Goku remained still for a moment, simply watching the pale sky and breathing in slowly. When he finally closed his eyes and reached out with his senses, he felt it. That distant pull, that slow and patient presence lingering at the edge of his awareness. Moro. It was not a sharp energy the way many enemies had been. It did not stab or burn. Instead, it felt like a long, cold breath, drawn from very far away, steadily pulling in the warmth of everything around it, planet by planet, life by life, a force that wanted to drink the universe itself. Goku opened his eyes with a gentle focus and told the others the direction he sensed the presence in. The patrol ship lifted quietly back into space, its engines humming softly, and as they traveled between distant stars, Goku sat in a quiet corner with his eyes half closed, feeling the shifting pattern of energy as Moro fed in scattered places. Each world he touched dimmed slightly, like lanterns losing oil. It made Goku's chest tighten, not with fear, but with a sorrowful sympathy for the living things caught in the path of that hunger. Eventually, they reached a world still clinging to its color. Its forests remained green, its sky clear, but already there was something thin and strained about the air, the way a person might sound after too much work with too little rest. Moro was there, standing on a rocky height, with his staff planted before him, cloak moving lazily around his thin frame. His horns curved back from his head, casting long shadows across his face, and his eyes, though calm, carried a depth of age that made even the mountains feel young by comparison. Goku stepped forward onto the rocky ground, feeling the faint tremor of energy still leaking from the soil. He paused for a moment as he looked at Moro, not speaking right away. The old sorcerer returned the gaze, measuring him with quiet curiosity. To Moro, Goku did not look like the warriors he remembered from long ago. There was no coldness in his eyes, no arrogance, only a relaxed, steady attention that did not match the level of power Moro sensed beneath the surface. Goku greeted him with that gentle warmth that always seemed to surprise those expecting something fiercer. He asked, in simple words, why Moro needed to take the life from worlds. Moro's smile was small and distant. He spoke of survival, power, the taste of energy, and the way the universe itself seemed to exist so he could devour it. He did not justify so much as state, as if he and the hunger inside him had long since become the same thing. Their first encounter did not last long. Moro tested Goku lightly, gathering energy from the planet's core and twisting it into bursts of power that bent around his staff. Goku responded with smooth, measured movements, his body flowing with practiced grace. At first he fought in his usual forms, measuring the way Moro's magic bent the space around them, watching how the older being fed, even during combat, pulling from the life force of the world to mend his own weakness. It became clear quickly that this was not an opponent who could be outlasted by simple exchange. The longer he fought, the more Moro would draw in. Each second was another sip of the planet's lifeblood. Goku watched with growing concern. The ground beneath their feet cracked in slow, deep lines, as though the world itself was sighing. Trees withered at the horizon, leaves curling inward like tired hands. Goku stepped back, not in fear, but in understanding. He realized rushing in with raw power would only feed Moro further. This foe was unlike Frieza or Cell, unlike even Jiren. This was a being who required insight, patience, and timing, guided by calm awareness. After withdrawing, Goku and the others regrouped. Vegeta, always Vegeta in Goku's soft accent, had begun his own path of growth on Yardrat, learning techniques that demanded intense control. Goku respected this journey deeply. Vegeta was no longer following him. He was carving his own path, shaped by his own spirit. The thought made Goku smile, even as he worried about Moro's growing presence across the galaxy. Goku returned to training, not with wild urgency, but with focused serenity. Maris joined him in secret, their sessions unfolding in quiet places far from prying eyes. Maris moved with the same fluid refinement Goku had seen in Whis, each shift in stance layered with meaning. Training with him felt different from anything Goku had known. There was no shouting, no explosive force, only light steps, gentle corrections, patient instruction. Maris guided him toward a deeper understanding of Ultra Instinct, not as a desperate transformation, but as a state approached with intention, a steady awareness free from tension, a space where body and spirit responded without conflict. Goku felt it take shape slowly, each session smoothing him further, like water polishing stone. Meanwhile, Moro continued moving from world to world. Goku sensed the faint fading of distant planets like lanterns dimming in a faraway town. The galaxy felt it too. News traveled quietly, fear whispering through worlds without warriors like Goku or Vegeta to protect them. Still, Goku remained calm, not because he felt nothing, but because panic would cloud the clarity he needed most. The day arrived when they faced Moro again, this time with both Goku and Vegeta standing together. The planet beneath them strained beneath rising heat and trembling dust. Moro had grown stronger, his body full, his aura dark and heavy. Yet Goku stood lightly, shoulders relaxed, gaze focused and gentle. He stepped forward first, offering Moro one final chance to stop. There was no anger, only calm conviction. Moro refused with his own quiet certainty, unable or unwilling to imagine an existence without consuming. The battle that followed stretched through many stages, through borrowed power and stolen might, through sacrifice and growth. But at its heart, it was a conversation between two ways of being. One consumed the universe, one protected it, one took, one shared. At crucial moments, when hope grew thin, Goku reached inward toward the stillness Maris had shown him. Ultra Instinct bloomed again, smoothly this time, willingly. Silver light enveloped him in soft waves, and his expression stayed serene. Even against a foe that devoured worlds, his heart remained steady, his movements flowing like quiet rain. Maris's sacrifice left a quiet imprint on him. Goku carried that memory with him, its soft weight guiding his choices. When he offered Moro a chance to stop, he did it because compassion was part of who he was. Even when Moro could not walk away from his hunger, that choice still mattered. When Moro finally fell, not in a sudden flash, but in a slow unraveling of stolen power, the cosmos seemed to exhale. The planet beneath them still held a spark of life. The air eased, the light softened. Goku stood in the calm aftermath, his breathing slow, aura fading quietly. He looked to his friends, to the allies who fought beside him, to the lives that would continue. The fatigue he felt didn't weigh him down. It reminded him the universe was full of stories like this, some ending in shadow, some in light, all delicate in their own way. In the days that followed, Goku returned home. The sky above Mount Paozu had never looked more peaceful. Dawn seemed brighter, the forest warmer. Sitting outside with a cup of simple tea, he let himself exist in rare stillness. He knew more would come, more threats, more mysteries, more chances to grow. But he also knew these quiet spaces were just as important as the battles. They were where meaning settled. Far away, another story had already begun. Granola, a lone survivor with grief etched deep inside him, listened to tales that would soon guide him toward Goku. But for now, the night at Mount Paozu was calm, the breeze gentle, the river steady. And Goku, protector of so many worlds, simply breathed beneath the quiet sky. Part 9. Granola's Silent Grief. After the long and wearying conflict with Moro, the universe settled once more into a peaceful rhythm, like a vast ocean resting after a distant storm. Goku returned home to a world where the wind rustled softly through the trees and where evenings unfolded slowly, filled with the gentle sounds of insects humming and rivers whispering along their stones. For a time, his life returned to a sweetness that felt almost fragile in its simplicity. These peaceful days moved by with a comforting slowness. Goku helped Chi-Chi with chores, trained lightly with Goten, and visited his friends with a lighter heart than he had felt in some time. Vegeta continued his own quiet training, shaping himself in ways Goku could sense but not fully understand yet. The two would meet occasionally, trading a few soft comments, often ending in a small, rare smirk from Vegeta. The calm between them felt earned, balanced, and steady. Yet far out in the cosmos, beyond the familiar constellations, something stirred, something tied deeply to the ghosts of Saiyan history. On a planet bathed in dusty amber light, a lone figure stood upon a cliff overlooking a quiet valley. His cloak fluttered gently behind him, and his eye, one glowing faintly beneath a polished scope, stared out into the open sky with the solemn weight of long-buried pain. His name was Granola, though the universe had forgotten him long before he ever rose to any fame. His people had lived peacefully once, cultivating their world among tall forests and golden plains. They were the Zerialians, known for sharp senses and calm hearts. But their planet had fallen to the Saiyan army under Frieza's command many years earlier. Granola, a child at the time, survived only by chance, carried away by a guardian, while everything he knew dissolved in fire. Now decades later, Granola lived with that memory tucked like a quiet ember behind his heart. Not burning, not raging, simply glowing, warming his determination and shaping his purpose. He worked as a bounty hunter, moving silently between distant planets, his movements precise, patient, guided by an inner calm that masked the heaviness he carried. One night, beneath the silver glow of his world's twin moons, Granola felt a shift ripple through the galaxy. He sensed a disturbance, a new power rising somewhere far away. It wasn't loud or chaotic, but it held weight, purpose, strength, a Saiyan's strength. Granola's breath slowed as he closed his eyes. Memories flickered in the darkness behind them, burning skies, falling towers, the silhouettes of towering Uzaru shapes blotting out the moonlight, and among them, the unmistakable shadows of Saiyans whose existence had shaped the root of his hatred. Goku and Vegeta, though innocent of his planet's destruction, carried that ancient heritage within them, and now fate was gently guiding Granola toward a path that would bring their stories together. On Earth, Goku remained unaware of this oncoming intersection. He was training lightly one morning, moving through a relaxed routine in the quiet clearing behind his home. Sunlight filtered through the leaves above him, scattering warm patches of light across the ground. His movements were smooth, almost meditative, the result of countless days practicing with a calmer, lighter heart. Whis arrived as he often did, quietly, as though stepping into existence rather than traveling. He observed Goku with a small, amused smile. When Whis mentioned a potential new warrior rising somewhere deep in space, Goku listened with gentle curiosity rather than excitement. He wondered softly if this person might be strong, not with competitiveness, but with a serene fascination for growth in all its forms. Wise did not give a full description. He called Granola a survivor, a marksman, someone with accuracy beyond the natural, and someone whose history was tightly woven with the past of the Saiyan race. Goku's eyebrows lifted slightly. He remained thoughtful rather than alarmed. He felt no defensiveness about his heritage, only a soft sympathy for anyone shaped by loss. He didn't know Granola yet, but in the quiet corners of his heart, he already felt compassion forming. Meanwhile, Vegeta received hints of Granola's existence from a different source, echoes of the ancient Saiyan king lingering in his consciousness. The memories of old teachings and older guilt stirred. Though no conversation took place, Vegeta felt the pull of fate. A thread tied to the Saiyan legacy was drawing closer. When Goku and Vegeta reunited for training on Beerus's world, the sky above them tinted in soft hues. Whis explained more clearly that a new power had appeared, one shaped by pain, longing, and justice, hardened into vengeance. Vegeta stood quietly for a moment, arms folded, eyes narrowed. More than anyone, he understood the weight of inherited sins. His own hands had once carried that stain. Though he had left that path behind, he knew shadows of old choices continued echoing through time. Goku placed a hand behind his head and softly admitted he hoped this new warrior wasn't suffering too much. The gentle comment made Vegeta roll his eyes, though beneath the reaction dwelled a quiet respect. In truth, Vegeta admired Goku's compassion, even when he pretended not to. As Goku trained with Whis, letting Ultra instincts settle deeper into his natural rhythm, Granola pursued the truth behind the Saiyan legacy. He learned of Goku and Vegeta, of their battles, their transformations, their ties to Frieza, and something inside him tightened. He decided that no matter who they were now, no matter what lives they lived, the Saiyans had to answer for the destruction of his people. Even if Goku had not taken part, his very existence as a Saiyan warrior made him the symbol of everything Granola had lost. One quiet evening, as Granola returned to his small home, built among the ruins of a Cerealian tower, he looked out across the gentle twilight horizon. A soft wind brushed the tall golden grass, and for a moment, sadness moved through him like a faint breeze. His people were gone. His world lived on only in fragments. And it was then Granola made his decision. He would gain the strength he needed. He would challenge the Saiyans. He would rewrite the ending that life had forced upon him. The sky deepened into purples and blues as Granola closed his eyes, letting the night settle over him, steadying his breath. On Beerus's world, Goku paused mid-movement, sensing a faint ripple in the distance. A new presence, sharp and focused like moonlight on still water. He didn't know the name Granola yet, but he could feel something approaching, shaped by sorrow and quiet resolve. He inhaled softly, letting the breath settle. Whatever this new story was, he would meet it with warmth, with calm, with compassion, with a steady heart. Above him, the stars shimmered gently, acknowledging the threads of destiny weaving together in the quiet cosmic night. Part 10. Paths Entwined by Fate. The universe often brings hearts together in ways no one expects, weaving stories slowly, like threads pulled through a quiet loom. As Granola stepped forward on his path of vengeance, the cosmos prepared the space where his journey would eventually touch Goku's. Not with an explosion, not with sudden chaos, but with a gradual, gentle alignment, like stars settling into place across a calm night sky. On Beerus's world, Goku stood at the edge of a lake that mirrored the sky so perfectly that the boundary between water and air almost vanished. His reflection trembled softly with each ripple, his silvered Ultra Instinct aura flickering faintly as he practiced small, precise movements. He no longer forced the transformation, no longer strained toward it. Instead, it rose and faded within him like breath, arriving and leaving with natural ease. Nearby, Vegeta trained with the sharp intensity that defined him. His stance remained low, controlled, grounded. Every movement struck with the weight of certainty. Yet even he carried a sense of quiet around him these days. Not the raging fire of his youth, but a steady flame, warm and unwavering. Beerus watched from a floating stone, tail flicking lazily, pretending not to care. But even he sensed something stirring across the galaxy, a disturbance wrapped in old memories, memories he himself had once shaped. Whis approached with his usual gentle grace, staff tapping lightly against the air as though touching an invisible pond. He spoke softly, his tone unhurried, as if reading a bedtime tale to the cosmos. He told them a new warrior was rising, a warrior whose past was tied deeply to the Saiyan race, a warrior whose heart had been carved by loss and molded into something sharp and fragile. Goku paused mid-motion, lowering his hands with a thoughtful hum. Vegeta's eyes narrowed, his posture shifting into something more reflective as his mind sorted through the remnants of his people's long shadows. The Heaters, sleek, calculating dealers of information, hidden in the cracks of empires, played their part quietly. They whispered lies, twisted truths with expert precision, guiding Granola's sorrow directly toward the Saiyans. They understood his grief well enough to mold it, turning the ache inside him into a hardened spear pointed at Goku and Vegeta. Granola trained alone, his breath steady, movements crisp in the fading light of his world. When he made his wish upon the Cerealian dragon, giving up years of his life to gain the power he sought, it wasn't a choice made from fury. It was carved from longing to close the wound left open since childhood, longing to bring peace to the ghosts that lingered behind his eye. The power flowed through him like a quiet storm, urged forward by purpose rather than pride. It wasn't long before Granola's path intersected with Goku's, drawn together by the Heater's careful deception. The moment Goku sensed Granola's Kyo approaching, he felt something unusual. The energy was sharp but steady, fierce but focused. It reminded him of a warrior who trained not for ego, but for something deeper, something carried in the soul. When they finally faced each other upon a rocky plateau beneath an open, silent sky, the wind carried only soft sounds, loose stones shifting, a faint hum of distant life, and the quiet tension between two hearts shaped by very different pasts. Granola stood with his cloak trailing behind him, his expression calm beneath the glowing scope over his eye. He did not shout. He did not let anger twist his face. Instead, he looked at Goku with a steady sorrow, as though seeing a shadow of the monsters that had taken everything from him. Goku offered a gentle greeting, warm as always. His voice carried no defensiveness, only soft curiosity. He could feel Granola's sadness radiating outward like a muted flame, and it stirred something tender in him. Granola responded with simple words, quiet but sharp, telling Goku the Saiyans had taken his world, his people, his peace. His voice sounded more like someone reciting an old wound than accusing a living man. Goku frowned lightly, confusion flickering through him. But when Granola attacked, the movements came not from rage, but from precision, a marksman's discipline. Clean, exact, purposeful. Goku flowed around each strike, with Ultra Instinct's smooth clarity, letting instinct, rather than thought, guide him. Granola's accuracy pushed Goku in ways he had never been pushed before. Every shot landed exactly where he aimed. Every movement was honed to perfection. Goku respected it instantly. The fight felt almost like training with a master of a different craft. Vegeta watched from a distance, arms folded, studying Granola with quiet fascination. Something stirred in his chest. Not fear, not anger, but recognition. A memory of the man he once was, of the worlds he had helped tear apart, of the sins he could never fully erase. As the clash continued, Goku sensed the layers of sorrow woven into every strike. Sorrow shaped by loneliness, survival, and memories that had never healed. During small openings, he spoke softly, telling Granola the Saiyans he hated were not the Saiyans standing before him now. But Granola, still bound to the ache in his heart, could not accept those words yet. The battle escalated, silver light rising around Goku as he leaned deeper into Ultra Instinct. Granola answered with the power condensed into him by the wish, strength sharpened into something terrifyingly precise. Yet even as boulders cracked, dust lifted, and energy hummed through the sky, the emotional tension between them felt delicate. Two lives shaped by loss, meeting at a crossroads neither had chosen. Eventually, Vegeta stepped forward, placing a hand on Goku's shoulder. His voice was calm, grounded, telling Goku that this part of the story was his to face. Not for pride, but because the weight of Saiyan history belonged partly to him. Granola needed answers from someone who carried the scars of their race. Goku stepped back with a peaceful nod, trusting Vegeta with quiet certainty. As Vegeta walked forward to meet Granola, the sun dipped behind distant mountains, painting the battlefield in warm orange light. The dust settled slowly around the rocks. The air felt heavy but full of possibility, like the moment before rainfall. What followed would be a clash not only of power, but of legacy, a meeting of past and present, two hearts carrying hurt from different sides of the same ancient story, and the quiet unraveling of sorrows that had waited far too long to be heard. Part 11. Vegeta's past resurfaces. Vegeta stepped forward onto the rocky ground with a slow, steady confidence, the kind that no longer needed to flare or prove itself. The air around him felt heavier, not with tension, but with the weight of stories carried quietly across years. He faced Granola with his arms at his sides, cloak stirring gently in the wind, and for a moment neither of them moved. They simply regarded one another, two warriors from very different pasts standing at the crossroads of a shared fate. Granola watched Vegeta with wary eyes, that single glowing scope tracking every subtle shift in posture. To him, this stranger was not only a Saiyan, but a prince of Saiyans. a living remnant of the race that had stolen his people and his future. Yet Vegeta's expression was different from what Granola expected. There was no mocking smile, no sneer of superiority, only a calm intensity, a gaze that felt as though it carried the weight of entire galaxies' worth of regret and growth. Vegeta spoke first, his voice even and measured. He did not try to deny what the Saiyans had done in the past. He did not excuse it or pretend their history was anything less than cruel. Instead, he acknowledged it plainly, with a quiet honesty that surprised even Goku watching from the distance. Vegeta admitted that the Saiyans had once been conquerors, that they had destroyed countless worlds, that his own hands were not innocent. He also told Granola, in that same calm tone, that the Saiyan race as Granola knew it was long gone. Planet Vegeta, their home, had been destroyed, and with it most of the warriors who carried that violent legacy. The sayings of the present were different. Some had changed. Some had fallen. Some were still searching for redemption in their own ways. Granola listened, but his heart clung to the images burned into his memory. The night skies of his home lit by flames instead of stars. The roars of giant ape-like forms blotting out the moon. The cries of his people. The quiet that followed. These memories wrapped around his mind like cold hands, making it difficult to accept any idea of change. So he did what he had always done when confronted by that pain. He fought. Their battle unfolded beneath a sky painted in fading orange light. The sun dipping slowly while stars timidly emerged at the edges of the firmament. Granola's strikes were sharp and surgical, each aimed at vital points, each one infused with the quiet ferocity of a man who had prepared for this moment his entire life. Vegeta welcomed the blows with a grim sort of peace, meeting Granola's power not with cruelty, but with determination. As the battle continued, Vegeta began to draw on the new strength he had been nurturing, a strength that came from embracing his nature instead of running from it, from accepting his identity and pushing it further rather than rejecting who he was. His aura shifted, taking on a deep violet shade, his eyes growing fiercer as he allowed a more primal power to surface. Ultra Ego was not a calm technique. It was wild, consuming, fueled by the willingness to take damage and rise stronger with each hit. Yet even here, Vegeta carried the discipline he had forged across years of change. He did not lose himself in the chaos. He rode it like a wave, anchored to his evolving sense of self. Goku watched with quiet respect. He could see how far Vegeta had come, how he no longer chased Goku's shadow, but walked alongside him on a different road. Their paths curved differently, but moved toward the same horizon. As Vegeta and Granola clashed, the ground trembled beneath them, stones cracking and lifting into the air under the force of their blows. Dust rose in slow drifting clouds, glowing softly in the evening light. Energy flashed in bright bursts across the landscape, illuminating rocks and ridges, before settling once more into gentle orange light. But even as they fought, something else unfolded behind the scenes. The Heaters watched silently from afar, eyes gleaming with cold calculation. They had set this entire encounter in motion, twisting the truth so that Granola believed Goku and Vegeta bore responsibility for his suffering. To them, Granola, the Saiyans, and even Frieza were pieces on a board, pieces to be moved, sacrificed, or elevated as needed. Their presence lingered like a shadow behind a curtain, always just out of view, always pulling invisible strings. Eventually, the truth began to surface, not through grand speeches, but through small revelations. Monaito, the old Namekian who had lived beside Granola for so many years, stepped forward with the weight of hidden memories. He revealed that not all Saiyans who came to planet Cereal had been monsters. One had shown mercy. That saying had saved Granola. Vegeta recognized the description: the old armor, the scar, the demeanor. Bardock, Goku's father. The revelation rippled across the battlefield like a soft wind, brushing past Granola and making him hesitate for the first time. Certainty wavered. His world no longer felt so sharply defined. Goku's eyes widened slightly as he learned, perhaps for the first time in his adult life, something deeply human and gentle about the father he barely remembered. Bardock, a Saiyan warrior shaped by a violent era, had chosen in that moment on Cereal to protect Granola and his mother instead of finishing them. That single act had echoed quietly into the future, shaping events none of them could have predicted. It set the stage for a meeting, decades later, between Bardock's son and the boy he once saved. Granola's breath slowed. The anger he once held like solid stone now felt more like mist thinning around him. He staggered under the weight of realizing that the story he had clung to, one that had guided every decision, had been incomplete. Goku walked closer, steps unhurried, aura calm. He told Granola softly that he did not remember Bardock, yet felt strangely grateful to him. He sensed, deep down, that his father's moment of compassion had echoed into his own life. After all, Goku also became someone who offered mercy over destruction. They did not reconcile instantly. Old wounds do not heal with a single truth. But a crack formed in the walls Granola built around his heart, allowing new light to slip in. And the universe, as always, had its own timing. The heaters acted then. Gas, their strongest weapon, stepped forward, empowered by a wish that twisted his strength into something immense, almost divine. His energy surged violently, but beneath it was something brittle, something that did not belong to him. Goku, Vegeta, and Granola stood together on ground scarred by earlier clashes, facing a threat that cared nothing for justice or truth. Gas attacked with overwhelming force, every blow heavy and relentless, driven by the desperation of someone being used rather than someone who chose their own path. Their battle carried on across plains, ruins, and open sky. Goku moved between forms, balancing strength and serenity. Vegeta embraced Ultra Ego, learning its limits as he refined its wildness. Granola, weakened by the price he paid for his wish, continued firing precise, focused shots, not from revenge anymore, but from a desire to end the chaos. Gradually, their rhythms aligned. They were no longer three separate forces clashing blindly. They were three currents of the same stream, moving toward the same goal. The Saiyan Prince, the gentle warrior raised on Earth, the sole survivor of a lost people. Together, Gas faltered, not from wounds, but from the strain of carrying power that was never his to bear. The heater's fragile plans cracked, collapsing inward as truth emerged. When the dust settled, silence returned, soft, almost peaceful. Granola stood tired, his shoulders lower, but his eyes softer. The hatred once fueling him now felt distant, fading like a storm passing beyond the horizon. He apologized in his own quiet way, not through dramatic words, but through tone, posture, acceptance. Goku answered with warm ease. Vegeta, though sparing in expression, nodded in approval. There was no need to deepen old wounds. What mattered was the future. Granola chose to spend what remained of his shortened life in peace, rebuilding what he could of his world, honoring his people without letting sorrow run his path. Monito stayed beside him, watching the skies as days eased gently forward. Goku and Vegeta returned home. Their journey back felt softer, like gliding through a cool breeze after a long, heated day. Goku gazed out at the stars, thinking of Bardock, how one small act of compassion in the middle of brutality had echoed so deeply into the present. It gave him comfort, a sense of belonging, not to the Saiyan race as it was, but to the chain of choices that shaped who he was now. Vegeta sat in thoughtful silence. He had faced Granola's grief and his own, and though he rarely voiced such things, he felt lighter, step by step moving further from the prince he once had been, and closer to the man he chose to become. When they finally arrived on Earth, the blue-green world welcomed them with its familiar warmth. Laughter drifted from distant towns. The smell of food floated gently from open windows. Rivers and oceans breathed in their slow, eternal cycles. Goku returned to Mount Paozu. Chi-Chi scolded him with relief hidden in her voice. Goten hugged him tightly. Goku laughed with that bright, gentle sound that always filled the house with warmth. That night, after everyone slept, he stepped outside and looked up at the sky. Somewhere out there, Granola was also looking at stars sprinkled across a quiet horizon. Somewhere out there, countless lives carried stories of their own. Stories of loss, hope, change, and gentle resilience. Goku inhaled deeply, letting the breath ease through him. The world beneath his feet, the stars above his head, the universe vast and alive. And soon another presence would step from the shadows. One cloaked in black and gold. One who shifted the balance with chilling ease. But for now, the night was calm, and the stars shimmered softly as the world slept in peaceful stillness. Part 12. Black Frieza emerges. Goku stood beneath the quiet glow of the night sky, letting the cool air move gently across his skin, as if the breeze itself wished to soothe the faint exhaustion still lingering from the long battle on planet Cereal. The stars above him shimmered softly, their distant light reminding him that the universe stretched on endlessly, full of mysteries that moved at their own calm, patient pace. He lingered for a moment, enjoying the stillness, unaware that the peace around him was already beginning to shift in subtle ways, like the first ripples in a pond before a storm. Far away, in a region of space where gravity bent the starlight and silence rested like a thick blanket, something moved with a serene confidence that felt almost unnatural. A sleek vessel glided through the void, its engines humming in a steady, low rhythm. Within it sat a figure whose presence seemed to pierce even the darkness around him. Frieza, the emperor who had once shattered worlds with casual disdain, sat quietly upon his throne, his tail curved lazily along the armrest. His expression was unreadable, calm in a way that suggested he had been waiting for a moment only he truly understood. Around him, his newly assembled soldiers moved in orderly patterns, their steps light and respectful. Frieza said nothing as he watched the stars pass by, each one reflected faintly in his dark, emotionless gaze. He had been absent for some time, hidden from the sight of those who believed they had grown beyond his influence. While Goku and Vegeta trained, fought, and evolved through the ever-shifting challenges before them, Frieza had been journeying into the corners of the cosmos that few dared to follow. His path had been quiet, deliberate, carved through places where power and danger lay coiled like sleeping serpents. And in that silence, Frieza had changed. Not loudly, not with declarations or displays, but with the cold, patient discipline of someone who had learned from bitter defeat. While Goku trained under angels and Vegeta under gods, Frieza had found his own path to evolution. one that reflected his unique blend of cunning and cruelty. Now, as he rested upon his throne in the dim light of the ship, his power coiled tightly within him. The universe around him seemed just a little less steady. Back on Earth, Goku stretched gently as he returned to the warm comfort of his home. Chi-Chi had insisted he sleep early, pressing a soft blanket into his hands and reminding him that even the strongest warriors needed rest. He smiled tenderly, appreciating her concern, and lay down while the quiet sounds of the forest filled the air. Leaves rustled in the night, crickets chirped, and the soft glow of moonlight slid in through the window. Goku closed his eyes, letting himself surrender to the peaceful rhythm of home, unaware that the greatest shift in power he had ever encountered was already approaching. The next morning came gently, with sunlight filtering through the trees in soft, golden strands. Birds sang lazily, and the air felt fresh and calm. Goku rose with a comfortable stretch, taking in a deep breath before flying off to meet Vegeta at Beerus's planet. Wise greeted them both with his usual serene smile, his staff glinting faintly in the sunlight as if reflecting some secret amusement. Beerus, lying on his back atop a drifting stone, acknowledged them with a half-hearted glance, before turning his attention back to the peaceful clouds floating overhead. Training began in familiar patterns, movements flowing smoothly from one technique to the next. Goku and Vegeta pushed their bodies and spirits with controlled intensity, refining the delicate balance of power and clarity that Ultra Instinct and Ultra Ego required. The air shimmered softly with their auras, never crackling violently, but humming with a steady, focused energy. Yet even in that calm, Whis tilted his head slightly, as though sensing a disturbance faint enough to be missed by anyone else. He said nothing at first, waiting for the moment when the ripple in the universe grew close enough to touch. It didn't take long. A sudden tremor passed through the air. Not a violent shock, but a subtle shift, as if the very space around them had inhaled sharply. Goku paused mid-movement, turning his head toward the distant horizon. Vegeta narrowed his eyes, sensing the faint pressure of an incredible presence pressing gently against reality, like the quiet weight of deep ocean water. Whis floated upward just a little, and his voice carried through the air with calm clarity. He told them that a being with remarkable power had just entered their universe. The tone of his voice held no panic, yet it carried a certain gravity that made both Saiyans straighten instinctively. A moment later, the sky cracked open with a quiet distortion, barely louder than the flutter of a bird's wings. From within, it stepped Frieza. But he was not the Frieza they remembered. His form gleamed with an unfamiliar sheen, a deep onyx black that reflected the light in strange, smooth patterns. His aura didn't roar or flare. It simply existed, crushingly heavy, yet eerily quiet, like the immense mass of a mountain hidden beneath calm snow. His presence made the air feel thick, as though sound itself had grown hesitant to move. Goku approached him with cautious curiosity, noting the calmness in Frieza's expression. It wasn't arrogance exactly, but something colder, something sharpened. Vegeta's jaw tightened as he studied Frieza more closely, sensing the profound power coiling beneath that polished exterior. Frieza greeted them with a soft, almost pleasant tone, as if he had merely stopped by to check on old acquaintances. He shared, with a quiet hint of pride, that he had spent years training in a realm far beyond their reach, refining his body and spirit through methods entirely his own. He had named his new form Black Frieza, a form born not of divine guidance or ancient Saiyan instinct, but of pure self-directed evolution. Before either Saiyan could respond, Frieza moved. He did not teleport, and there was no trail of energy. He simply vanished and appeared again, crossing a distance that should have required a scream of momentum, yet leaving behind only a soft disturbance in the air. His fist met Vegeta's abdomen with such speed and precision that Vegeta didn't fully process the blow until he was already on the ground, struggling to breathe through the shock reverberating through his body. Goku barely had time to shift into his Ultra Instinct mindset before Frieza's hand rested lightly against his chest. There was no malice in his expression, only quiet certainty. The strike that followed was delivered with a smooth, effortless grace, sending Goku collapsing beside Vegeta, both of them stunned not just physically, but spiritually. Frieza stood over them with a calm inhale, his breath steady as though he had barely exerted himself. His black aura flickered faintly, not in aggression, but like the cool glow of distant starlight. He did not gloat, nor did he mock them with elaborate speeches. Instead, he simply remarked that he had business elsewhere, business involving the heaters, and that he had only stopped here to measure how far the Saiyans had come. Satisfied with the answer the universe had given him, he turned to leave. As he stepped back into the distortion that had brought him, Goku watched through blurred vision, his breath shallow, but his spirit slowly recovering. He had felt the depth of Frieza's power, a power so refined and compact that it seemed almost unreal. Yet even through the shock, a spark of quiet excitement flickered in Goku's chest. Not competitive excitement, but a curious, gentle wonder. Frieza had changed, as all beings in the universe eventually did. Vegeta, still catching his breath, looked up at the sky where Frieza had vanished. His pride had been wounded, but beneath that, a new determination had formed, steady and deep. He no longer sought power simply to surpass Goku. His path had branched into something personal, something tied to the warrior he was choosing to become. Frieza's sudden leap forward was not an insult, but a reminder that evolution never truly ended. Wise drifted down toward them with a serene expression, noting calmly that they had much room left to grow. Beerus snorted softly from his floating stone, remarking that Frieza's new form was interesting, though his tone carried a hint of annoyance, as if the universe had gone and stirred itself up again without his permission. Goku and Vegeta stood slowly, their bodies aching, their minds processing the encounter with quiet awe. The sky above them stretched out in gentle blue, unbothered by the immense shift that had just brushed across the cosmos. Life on Earth continued as always, peaceful and unaware. For the first time in a long while, both Saiyans felt something they hadn't felt so strongly since their earliest days of training. Not fear, not competition, but possibility. A wide open horizon waiting to be explored, felt through instinct rather than sight. Goku gazed into the distance with soft eyes, the wind brushing against his hair. Somewhere far away, Frieza moved through the cosmos once more, leaving behind traces of silence rather than chaos. His new power felt like a quiet echo, one that would linger in the air for years to come. Vegeta crossed his arms, breathing deeply as he let the tension drain out. He muttered something under his breath about not letting Frieza stay ahead for long, but his voice lacked its usual sharpness. It carried warmth, even humor, as though the challenge had rekindled a flame he hadn't realized had dimmed. The day settled into stillness, and the universe stretched around them like a great, slow-moving sea. The tides of fate continued their gentle shift, preparing to carry Goku and Vegeta into the next era of their lives. A new chapter waited on the horizon, quiet and wide, ready to unfold with the same slow, soothing rhythm that carried the story of Goku from the start of his childhood to the endless expanse of the future. Part 13. Training Beneath the Gods. The night on Beerus's world grew deeper, settling over the floating islands with a quiet, comforting heaviness. The kind of stillness that seemed to cradle every thought and every breath. Goku and Vegeta sat near the edge of one of the plateaus, their legs dangling over the side as they gazed into the shimmering void below. The light from distant galaxies reflected faintly off the smooth stone beneath them, creating the illusion that the world was resting gently upon a cosmic sea. Goku leaned back with his hands behind him, letting his palms warm against the stone as he took in the softness of the evening. He said it was strange, almost funny, how moments of peace always seemed to follow moments of immense shock, as if the universe knew exactly when to let them rest. Vegeta grunted in agreement, though his eyes carried a contemplative calm. Even he seemed grateful for the stillness, as though whatever the future held would be easier to face after soaking in this quiet twilight. Waz eventually joined them, his staff hovering lightly beside him. He floated just above the stone, legs crossed as if perched on an invisible cushion. He told them gently that growth often came most easily when the mind was calm and the heart unburdened, that even the strongest warriors were more like flowers than they realized, blooming best under steady light rather than constant storms. His words drifted through the air with the softness of a breeze, sinking quietly into the space between them. Goku listened with thoughtful focus, while Vegeta pretended not to be moved, though his shoulders loosened noticeably. Beerus snored somewhere behind them, sprawled across a floating rock as if the cosmos itself existed merely to provide him a comfortable nap. Time moved slowly on that world, days and nights flowing into one another with serene ease. Training resumed, but with a kind of refinement rather than strain. Goku practiced letting instinct guide him before thought, learning to allow each motion to follow the last naturally. Vegeta shaped Ultra Ego with more control, treating its intensity like a fire to be directed rather than endured. Waz observed their progress in silence, offering gentle corrections, his hand occasionally guiding their stance with movements so subtle the air barely shifted. Each adjustment carried layers of meaning, lessons that would take months or years to fully understand. Yet both Saiyans absorbed as much as they could, letting every insight settle deep. Eventually, the time came to return to Earth. Goku stood at the edge of Beerus's world one last time, gazing at the cosmic ocean with a soft smile. He felt grateful for the calm, for the lessons, for the chance to grow at a pace that felt peaceful rather than frantic. Vegeta stood beside him, arms crossed, though something in the rhythm of his breathing suggested he too felt reluctant to leave the gentle sky behind. Whis sent them off with a calm wave, reminding them that balance mattered not just in power, but in life. Beerus mumbled something that might have been encouragement, or might have been him requesting a snack. Either way, the universe felt steady for the moment. Descending toward Earth felt like sinking slowly into warm water. The air grew richer, filled with the scent of forests, rivers, and soil. Birds circled overhead. Sunlight poured across the landscape in soft golden sheets. It felt peaceful, like returning to a memory. Goku landed near his home and inhaled deeply. Dew and fresh earth mingled in the air. Chi-Chi spotted him and hurried outside, scolding him with a mixture of frustration and relief. Goku apologized sheepishly, knowing well that he'd eventually leave again, but grateful for the warmth of home. Vegeta landed at Capsule Corp, where Bulma was examining a sleek new device. She smiled at him, brushing hair from her face. Vegeta responded in his usual understated way, but Bulma caught the subtle softness beneath his words. Moments later, Trunks ran out to greet him, and Vegeta placed a rare, gentle hand atop his son's head. Life returned to a quiet rhythm. Goku trained lightly in the forest each morning, helped Chi-Chi with chores in the afternoon, and sat with Goten in the evenings beneath fading light, sharing warm stories of old adventures. Vegeta refined his techniques in the gravity chamber, emerging with a calmness that reflected his new direction, not driven by obsession, but by clarity. Yet even in the stillness, the presence of Black Frieza lingered, not as fear, but as a quiet reminder, a new possibility, a shift in the universe that settled in the hearts of both Saiyans. Goku often looked toward the sky, wondering where Frieza now traveled. He imagined the Emperor moving between galaxies, silent and sharp, his dark aura flickering like distant starlight. Goku felt curiosity more than anything, gentle, patient curiosity. Vegeta felt a similar tug, though he hid it behind a composed exterior. His thoughts about Frieza were less emotional and more resolute. He wanted to ensure he and Goku would never fall behind again, not for pride, but for readiness. Earth moved through its seasons with quiet grace. Leaves changed, winds cooled, night skies deepened. Within that natural rhythm, Goku and Vegeta continued to grow, their breaths steadier, their minds clearer. One evening, as Goku sat on a small dock over a calm lake, he felt something settle inside him. Not a warning, but a soft readiness. He realized that every battle behind him and everyone ahead was part of one long journey. A journey shaped by friends, by choices, by peaceful moments like this one. Vegeta, meditating beneath a grove near Capsule Corp, felt something similar. The wind brushed his face, carrying the scent of blooming flowers. He realized that his path was no longer defined by surpassing others, but by understanding himself, by evolving not with force, but with purpose. And so, beneath the watchful eyes of distant stars, the story of Goku continued its soft, steady unfolding. A river moving gently toward horizons filled with new mysteries, new lessons, and quiet revelations waiting to be woven into the tapestry of his endless journey. Part 14. A Night of Peaceful Reflection. Goku sat quietly beneath the soft glow of the evening sky, the horizon painted in gentle strokes of orange and fading gold as the sun dipped below the distant hills. The air around him held the comforting coolness of night settling in, carrying with it the faint scent of pine and the quiet whisper of leaves rustling in the breeze. The world felt unhurried, as though time itself had chosen to slow down just enough for him to breathe without weight or worry. His legs dangled from the edge of a small wooden pier, stretching out over a calm lake, the water below reflecting the shifting colors of twilight in serene ripples. He had sat in this very spot countless times throughout his life. As a child, when the world felt impossibly big and endlessly exciting. As a young man, when every day seemed to carry a new challenge or a new friend to meet. As an adult, when the responsibilities of battles, families, and destinies slowly folded themselves into the shape of his days. And now, once again, he sat here, not as a warrior preparing for the next crisis, but simply as Goku, a man listening to the quiet song of nature around him. The lake mirrored the sky so perfectly that it felt like he was looking into two heavens at once, one above and one below, stretching infinitely in both directions. Fireflies floated lazily through the air, their small lights flickering softly like stars that had drifted a little closer to Earth. Goku watched them with peaceful curiosity, chuckling gently when one landed on his knee, pulsing its little glow as though greeting him after a long adventure. He breathed in slowly, letting the fresh air fill his lungs and settle warmly in his chest. So much had happened over the years, so much had changed, and yet moments like this made everything feel simple and familiar. He thought about his earliest memories, back when he lived alone in the mountains with his grandpa, when life was full of quiet forests, gentle streams, and the steady rhythm of nature. He remembered how soft the mornings were back then, how the sun would peek through the trees, as if checking to see if he had woken up yet. Those memories flowed into others, forming a long, gentle chain of moments that reached all the way through his life. Meeting Bulma for the first time, back when he had no idea that the world contained so many wonders. Traveling with Krillin and Master Roshi, learning how to push his limits while still laughing every day. Meeting Chi-Chi, not realizing she would become the center of a warm home waiting for him after every journey. Facing foes who would one day become friends, allies, or quiet reminders of how far he had come. He remembered Piccolo stepping out of the shadows of villainy and choosing the path of growth, becoming someone Goku trusted with his whole heart. He remembered Vegeta's journey from proud conqueror to determined rival, to something quieter and stronger, a companion whose footsteps often matched his own in ways neither expected. He remembered Jiren's silent strength, the kind that rested beneath layers of solitude, teaching Goku that even the most powerful beings carried stories within them. The memories did not rush like waves, but instead floated gently, like leaves settling onto a calm river, merging one into another until they formed a single long reflection. He found himself smiling softly, the kind of smile that came not from excitement, but from a warmth deep within the chest, a recognition that life had carried him through countless chapters and allowed him to grow beside so many remarkable people. His journey had taken him from small villages to distant planets, from quiet forests to the edges of the universe. He had met gods, angels, mortals, heroes, and beings who blurred the line between myth and reality. He had faced silence, chaos, laughter, and loss. And yet, through all of it, he always returned to places like this, where the world felt small and gentle again, where he could feel the earth beneath him and know that no matter how vast the cosmos became, he would always have a home here. Behind him, the soft crunch of footsteps on grass moved closer. Goku didn't need to turn to know who it was. Vegeta stepped beside him and looked out over the lake, his expression unreadable in the dim light. He didn't speak at first, and neither did Goku. They simply sat there, two silhouettes at dusk, letting the hum of nighttime insects fill the silence between them. After a while, Vegeta cleared his throat and made a quiet comment about how the universe seemed to change faster than anyone could truly keep up with. His voice was steady, lacking the sharpness it once carried. Goku nodded and said the universe was big enough for surprises to appear when no one was looking. They spoke for a while, not about training or battles, but about small, ordinary things. The kind of things two old rivals turned old friends might share when the world finally calmed enough for them to simply exist. When Vegeta eventually rose and walked back toward Capsule Corp, Goku remained on the pier a little longer. The night had deepened, stars now scattered across the sky like gentle jewels, each one glowing softly in the quiet. The moon rose, casting a delicate silver path across the surface of the lake, as though inviting him toward dreams. Goku closed his eyes for a moment, listening to the gentle rhythm of water brushing against the wood. He let his thoughts drift into the darkness behind his eyelids, floating among memories and hopes alike. He imagined the faces of everyone he had ever met, all smiling with the peaceful ease of people who felt safe. The world felt still, almost timeless. Even the breeze softened to a faint whisper. brushing lightly against his cheeks like a reassuring touch from the universe. His breathing slowed, matching the quiet rhythm of the night. Each inhale felt like a soft blessing, each exhale a release of whatever little tension remained inside him. He thought about the future, not with worry, but with calm curiosity. Whatever came next would arrive in its own time, moving toward him like clouds easing across a summer sky. There would be new challenges, new friends, new discoveries, but there would also be more evenings like this, more gentle nights where the sky stretched wide and forgiving above him. Goku lay back on the pier, folding his hands over his stomach as he gazed up at the stars. The wooden boards beneath him felt warmed from the remnants of the sunny day, their support grounding him. He let out a soft sigh that seemed to melt into the air and allowed his entire body to rest. His muscles relaxed, his heartbeat settled, and the world dimmed into a quiet glow. Somewhere in the distance, the soft call of an owl echoed, mixing with the steady chirping of crickets. The sounds created a peaceful lullaby, drifting across the lake like music meant for the quietest hours. Goku listened for a few moments, his eyes growing heavier, his thoughts lighter. He whispered a quiet thanks to everyone who had walked beside him on his journey, to those who had challenged him, guided him, supported him, and taught him to grow. He thanked the world for its patience, the sky for its constant presence, and the peaceful nights that welcomed him home after every adventure. As sleep settled over him like a warm blanket, Goku let his mind ease across the universe one last time, imagining stars blooming like lanterns in the dark, planets turning slowly in quiet harmony, and distant galaxies spinning with serene grace. Everything felt connected and endlessly calm. And in that stillness, with moonlight resting gently across his peaceful face, Goku finally allowed himself to slip into a deep, restful sleep, the universe continuing its gentle rotation around him as his story folded softly into dreams. Thank you so much for watching, Warriors, and make sure to subscribe for more.